They tried to destroy it, and it kept going. That sentence sounds like something pulled straight from a movie trailer, but, well, this isn't an exaggeration. A conclusion that people reached independently in different countries. The Toyota Hilux, but why do you think it became what it is right now? Let's find out. So what makes the story even more interesting is that the Hilux never tried to be special. When Toyota built it, the idea wasn't to create an icon. It was to build a dependable pickup that normal people could afford and rely on. Even today, depending on market and trim, a brand new Hilux usually costs somewhere between $25,000 and $45,000 US. That matters because legends don't come from rare machines. They come from machines that are everywhere. Because when something is everywhere, it gets tested everywhere. Under the hood, the Hilux has always been conservative by design. Modern versions usually come with 2.4-liter or 2.8-liter turbo diesel engines, producing roughly 148 to 201 horsepower, with torque figures climbing to around 500 Newton-meters. Those numbers won't impress anyone chasing speed, but torque like that, delivered early and smoothly, is what matters when you're hauling heavy loads, crawling through mud, or driving for hours in brutal heat. Payload capacity sits around 1,000 kilograms. Towing capacity reaches 3,500 kilograms, and fuel economy often lands around 30 to 35 miles per gallon. On paper, it all sounds reasonable, almost boring. And that's exactly the point. So why did this particular truck become legendary when dozens of other pickups with similar specs didn't? Because the Hilux wasn't built to feel impressive early. It was built to remain usable when time, abuse, and neglect caught up. Toyota left margins everywhere. Margins for bad fuel, margins for skipped oil changes, margins for overloading, extreme heat, dust, and drivers who treat the accelerator like a switch. Engines were tuned conservatively. Frames were reinforced instead of optimized for weight. Parts were shared across generations, so mechanics didn't need new training every few years. These choices don't sell dreams. They sell longevity. That philosophy quietly shaped everything that came next. Then came the moment that pushed the Hilux from respected to infamous. A British TV show called Top Gear decided to answer a question nobody sensible asks. How much punishment can a truck really take? And instead of gentle testing, they went all in. The Hilux was submerged in seawater, smashed into structures, dropped from a height, crushed under the weight, set on fire. Is it done this time, though? Instead of dying, it sputtered, leaked fluids, made awful noises, and still managed to move under its own battered power. It didn't look good, it didn't sound healthy, but it moved. And that detail matters more than people realize. In the real world, a vehicle that limps home is infinitely more valuable than one that looks perfect but won't start. Those tests felt absurd, but they weren't unrealistic. They just compressed years of real-world abuse into a few hours. And that's when the myth started to feel real, because people watching didn't see a stunt. They saw something familiar. They saw what happens to work vehicles over decades: dents, corrosion, neglect, and they saw one refuse to quit. So what exactly was the Hilux doing differently when everything else would have failed by then? It wasn't avoiding damage, it was surviving damage in stages, giving owners time instead of sudden failure. This is a crucial point. The Hilux doesn't survive because it's indestructible. It survives because it fails slowly. Components wear instead of snapping. Problems announce themselves before becoming terminal. A leaking seal gives a warning. A tired suspension sags before it collapses. That gives people time to fix things, improvise, or at least get home. And that trait explains why the Hilux shows up in places where conditions are at their worst. In war zones, Hilux trucks are often seen running with 300,000 to 500,000 kilometers on the odometer. Panels are bent, interiors are stripped, dashboards are cracked by the sun and dust. Yet the drivetrain keeps going. Why does that matter so much in those environments specifically? Because when supply chains collapse, the vehicle everyone understands and can repair locally becomes more valuable than armor or horsepower. Parts are everywhere. Mechanics know the platform instinctively. One destroyed Hilux can keep 2 or 3 others running through shared components. Engines are rebuilt instead of replaced. Frames are welded instead of scrapped. The truck stops being just transportation. It becomes infrastructure, and it's not just conflict zones. On farms, the legend grows quietly. A Hilux might spend 20 years hauling feed at sunrise, towing broken equipment by noon, and carrying family by evening. The ladder frame chassis absorbs punishment that would twist softer vehicles apart. Mud, ruts, water crossings, it just adapts. Mining operations tell the same story. In environments where temperatures exceed 45 degrees Celsius, electronics suffer, sensors fail, screens go dark. But mechanical systems don't care the same way. The Hilux's relative simplicity keeps it operational when complexity becomes a liability. Downtime costs real money, and the Hilux minimizes it. Now here's a big twist most people miss, and it changes how you see the Hilux entirely. The Hilux survives not because it's advanced, but because Toyota intentionally avoided chasing innovation too early. While other manufacturers rushed toward complex electronics, early driver aids, and fragile comfort systems, Toyota stayed cautious. Fewer screens, fewer sensors, fewer systems that could shut the truck down when conditions turned ugly. Comfort was limited on purpose. Ride quality was firm. Interiors were basic. And because of that, there were fewer failure points. Before we go any further, let me ask you something real quick. If you're enjoying this story so far, if you like deep dives into machines that earn their reputation the hard way, take a second to hit the like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel keep telling stories like this, without chasing clickbait or hype. That decision didn't look smart in the short term. Reviewers complained. Buyers chasing luxury looked elsewhere. But 10 years later, when those complex systems aged badly, the Hilux was still working. Toyota didn't build excitement, they built durability. Here's another twist that nobody likes admitting. The Hilux stays alive because people actively choose to keep it alive, investing effort they wouldn't give other vehicles. There's something else happening here that most people miss until they think about it a little longer. The Hilux doesn't just survive environments, it survives time. Trends move on. Technology ages badly. Vehicles that once felt advanced slowly become unusable. So why do old, beaten Hiluxes still feel relevant when newer trucks already feel outdated? Because the Hilux was designed around timeless function, not technology that expires or becomes a liability over time. Screens crack, sensors fail, software becomes unsupported, but a strong frame, a simple diesel engine and mechanical controls don't care what year it is. That's why a 20-year-old Hilux can still earn its keep today, while far newer vehicles are already sidelined by complexity. The Hilux doesn't age like consumer tech. It ages like a tool. Scarred, outdated, maybe uncomfortable, but still useful. When a Hilux breaks, owners don't panic. They plan. Welds replace factory panels. Used engines find second lives. Entire trucks are rebuilt instead of replaced. That doesn't happen unless a vehicle earns it. People don't invest time, money, and creativity into machines that haven't proven themselves. So is the Hilux actually unkillable? Or is that just exaggeration repeated enough times? No, it can break like anything mechanical, but it almost never fails suddenly or without warning. That distinction is everything. Sudden failure kills vehicles. Predictable failure keeps them alive. And that's why resale values remain shockingly high worldwide. In many markets, a 10-year-old Hilux with heavy mileage still commands serious money. Buyers don't see age, they see evidence. Evidence that this truck has already survived what most newer vehicles haven't even faced yet. By the time you reach the end of this story, the indestructibility myth stops sounding exaggerated. It starts sounding logical. Repeated survival turns into reputation. Reputation turns into trust. And trust spreads globally. From farms to deserts, construction sites to disaster zones. The Toyota Hilux didn't chase legend status. It didn't try to be everything. It simply showed up day after day and did the work. And when people tried to destroy it, deliberately or accidentally, it kept going.